Aloha and welcome to the Bear Woznick adventure. We're really stoked. We have a really cool guest with us today. Ben Steele, one of the coaches for the Arizona Cardinals, former NFL tight end, and strong Catholic man. We met at the Syracuse men's conference this last year, so I'm really stoked to have Ben on our show. I have a feeling we might be getting him back on our show a little bit more than he wants to because we really enjoyed being with him. But we'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick adventure.
Welcome to the Bear Woznick adventure. Kickstart that engine and roll thunder with the pack. Explore the grittiness of manly spirituality. Gain traction in the virtues. Soup up your spiritual engine by turning adversity into adventure. Now here's Bear Woznick. Let's ride.
Aloha, welcome to the Bear Woznick adventure. I'm looking out over the ocean right now. There's the swell's dropping, but still overhead swells hitting Waikiki Beach right in front of St. Augustine's Catholic Church. It's that time of year when the puppies come here and hang around. Not so much in Waikiki, but around some of the shores here in Hawaii. I think you know what I mean by puppies. It's baby sharks like to show up here this time of year. I've only seen one shark in my 40 or 50 years, whatever, surfing, being here in Waikiki. So it's safe here, but out and away, it's a little bit from here. That every now and then the water gets a little bit sharky. Great whites are pretty gnarly. I guess it's summertime. Maybe we'll have a Shark Week moment here. Great whites are pretty gnarly sharks. They're predators. In fact, they're predators before they're born. When they first come out of the embryo, they may eat other embryos. They'll eat unfertilized eggs and also eat other weaker sharks. So they're predators. They are apex predators, and so to me they're kind of like an example of what it means for us when the enemy's coming after us. We need to avoid and how to fight them. The Bible says resist the devil and he will flee. If there's a shark in the water, and I've swam with sharks. If you start thrashing and swimming away from them, you're probably going to get eaten because they think, oh, that must be on my menu because they're thrashing and trying to get away from me. And but if a shark does approach you, the right way to deal with it is to punch him in the nose. I was watching a world championship contest down in South Africa, and the very sharky water. In fact, there were jet skis all over just patrolling, but the drones were being used then, and you could see from the drone looking down at the water, there was a great white coming towards one of the competitors, and when it hit him, it didn't get a bite. He started hitting back, and then his buddy came over and started taking punches too, which was really incredible. That guy did not hesitate; he just immediately went and started helping his buddy. Resist the devil and he will flee. I have a friend, Archie Kalepa, who's the head lifeguard in Maui. I was with him one afternoon. Actually, it was the afternoon before the first big, huge tow-in surf event at a place called Jaws over there. And he got a call on his radio. There's been a shark attack. And he said, don't tell me he got bit in the butt. And they go, yeah, he got bit in the butt. In other words, he chickened out and he started to swim away instead of facing the shark and fighting. And so when you're faced with adversity, sometimes it's temptation, sometimes it's just the enemy's coming around you. Like David said, my enemy was swarming me like angry bees, but in the name of the Lord, I cut them off. He took his sword out and he cut them off. Sometimes when you're doing great work, like for example, being a dad, raising family, you'll feel the resistance of the enemy. People ask me when I was on the road with Long Ride Home, did you ever come under spiritual attack? And I always said, no, we're on the attack. Sometimes we face more adversity than we normally do. So when the enemy's on the prowl, pray that prayer of St. Michael, face him and say, not today. In the name of Jesus, by the blood of Jesus, I rebuke you, and cut him off. But we also know, like here in Hawaii, there's certain areas that are more sharky than others. For example, where the fishing boats come in, or when there's been a big runoff and the water gets murky. We learn as Catholics to avoid the near occasion of sin. Don't swim around in sharky water. I remember my son and I were surfing out in front of my parents' home by Lahaina, And I said, you know what? Water's kind of murky because there was a big rain that morning. So we paddled over about half a mile away and surfed for the afternoon. When we got in, we found out someone had gotten attacked right where we were right after we left. So two things: avoid the narrow occasion of sin. Don't set yourself up to fail. If there's friends that when you hang out with you drink too much, don't hang out with those friends. You know how you handle your smartphone or your computers and certain places, certain people you just shouldn't be around. But also when the enemy is on the attack, then resist him in the name of Jesus. Resist him. The way to beat the devil, the way to beat the devil is to face off with him. He's a punk. You know, he's already been beaten. The Bible calls him the fleeing dragon. So I don't know why I've got that in my mind so much today. Probably because I got a warrior here in our studios. We got Ben Steele. I think the coolest position in a football team is the tight end because and that's what you played, tight end. You're a guard, you're a blocker, you're a receiver, you're big and you're mean. So welcome to the show, Ben Steele.
Thank you so much, Bear, for having me on. And I agree. I do think the tight end position is because you really have to know everything about the offense, the run game, the pass game, pass protection, everything. So, but
And you're the best looking of them all too, right? The tight
well, I
ends.
don't know about me. Like I've got a face for radio, is what I've been told. But but for the most part, I probably can agree with that. I mean, Taylor Swift is dating a tight end, so I mean, it must be something into that, I guess.
Yeah,
But
my wife loves, I mean, she just thinks the tight ends are how many women have a wife who, when you're walking home down the beach, she says, "Is there a football game on today?" And she loves football. I remember when I
that's
first
awesome.
met her, I said, "You want to come over and watch a football game?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Yeah." She'll watch one game with me. That'll be it. But no, she loves
That's
it.
awesome.
And when we particularly, the tight ends, they just kind of appear like they're like the heroes. The long ball isn't going, the running isn't going. Then all of a sudden, this tight end comes across the middle, catches it, and just runs over people. So,
Yeah, and we've got one of the best in the league right now in Arizona. I'm fortunate enough to coach Trey McBride, is a Pro Bowl guy that had an excellent year, and looking forward to the coaching him and getting the rest of the guys going too. But going back to your story about the shark thing, like what
mm.
if the shark is just going by and then I just reach out and punch it and he's like, "What? Why did you?" But I will say this. I will say this. Surfing as so you I thought I'm a tough football player and and I'm strong and I go down with my buddies and we go down to Baja, Mexico and we
Where
go
do you go?
surfing.
Where in Baja?
We went all the way down. We went to Portocitos and then Punta de Conejo and I can't remember all of the spots, but
How far south are you? How many kilometers south are you?
we didn't go all the way to Cabo, but pretty
Really?
close.
Wow. Okay.
But so growing up in Colorado, I was a snowboarder. I grew up skateboarding. Surfing is by far the hardest thing that I've ever tried to do on a board. And I was out there, and my friends describe it as you're just out there wrestling waves because I'm out there just like getting pummeled. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit on the beach and eat all the tamales. You guys
Yeah,
go surf.
the fish tacos. Yeah, but
Yes.
surfers invented snowboarding and they invented skateboarding, right? Sidewalk surfing, we used to call it. We used to use,
No,
but it's also your COG is so high, your center of gravity is high, you're tall. It's kind of like a gymnastic frame, works better for surfing. So
I have so much respect though for surfing and how hard that is for people to get out there in the waves and to learn that sport. But
it takes a whole summer to be able to, I have a friend who's a bull rider, a surfer, and a golfer. And I asked him what was the hardest of all those sports you'd think could have been bull riding. He said golfing. So golfing is even harder
go,
than surfing.
golfing is more expensive, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. With golfing, you get a surfboard, you bang it up for a few years, and then you get another one.
Yeah, yeah. But that was such a cool analogy, and I that resonates with me too. Is being a football coach. So as I see it, as like my faith of being on offense, the best defense is a good offense. And so that's what I proclaim, anyways. But to be proactive in my faith as an offensive coach, to like go search out and seek. has really paid dividends as far as kind of similar to what you were talking about, not just sitting on the sidelines, like get out there and be proactive and searching out the Lord. So
Yeah,
that was really cool.
yeah, go out into heavy water. It's interesting, when there's big surf, then there's big surf, and you're already like freaking out, and then the big wave comes, the real big wave comes. The way to deal with a really big wave is not to turn and run towards shore. You have to paddle out towards it and try to get over it into deeper water. And
Mm.
so in our lives, when we're facing challenges, it's not time to paddle in, it's time to paddle out, especially as a Catholic, because we've got the knowledge, we've got the sacraments. So we're going to take a break now. When we get back, we're going to compare notes of who of us has caught the greatest catch between the two of us. I know you played with Aaron Rodgers, so maybe you think you might have caught the greatest catch. We'll be right back with my friend Ben Steele, Arizona Cardinals tight ends coach and former NFL tight end. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick adventure. Schoolofmanliness.com is a place for men of grit and grace to join together, to inspire, to encourage, and to challenge each other to grow in manly virtue. Members receive morning man meditations, a monthly curriculum that is rich with audio, video, and written content, and a trail guide to help you map out your new trajectory. Many of our members lead their sons through this same curriculum. Your membership gives you access to both the Man Cave, which is our non-Facebook type community, and the School of Manliness at schoolofmanliness.com. Become a member at schoolofmanliness.com. Deep Adventure Ministries is grateful to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for underwriting the Bear Woznick adventure on EWTN. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union provides car loans, mortgages, SBA loans, and depository accounts nationwide, as well as 24-hour support. Go to deepadventure.com to find their link, or go to NotreDameFCU.com. Mahalo to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for making the Bear Woznick adventure possible. My newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?, has hit the top 5 in Christian books for a good reason. It's because men are searching for traction and a trail guide to live out the unique calling and the gifts that they were born with, that each man individually is factory loaded with by God. Paul said, "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, do all things in love." Finally, here is a book that talks with men the way men talk with each other. Just plain old straight shoot. By the way, Mama Bears, this is your chance to get this message to your men. Go to schoolofmanliness.com or anywhere books are sold. 12 Rules for Manliness. Where have all the cowboys gone? Here is a YouTube video short, which is based on an excerpt from my newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness. Where have all the cowboys gone? At times, I've been asked by men, I know I need to get in better shape, but where do I get the motivation? Dude, just look at your wife and children. Do you want to be actively involved in their lives and take care of them, or do you want them to have to end up taking care of you? Here's the real facts. You're either getting stronger or weaker physically. There's no standing still. And the fact is, you grow in virtue as you discipline your body. God has a mission for you. Be ready, be fit for that challenge.
This is a warning. The Bear Woznick adventure is dangerous. The radical change Bear challenges you to is not for wimps. Change this station now to a soft rock station before it's too late. You've been warned. Now, here is Bear Woznick.
Aloha, welcome back to the Bear Woznick adventure. The School of Manliness.com, our site, is starting to heat up. We've got a ramrod, Brad Rushmore, who is very focused on getting out the word daily. If you become a member of our School of Manliness and of our Man Cave, you get a text every morning with we're going through the entire catechism. You get just a one sentence from the catechism, so you can work your way through and kind of chew on it as we go through it. And we have and on Saturday mornings, you get that week's curriculum from the School of Manliness. It might be an excerpt from one of our TV shows or a homily from Catholic cowboy priest out in Wyoming, or it might be some written content or some questions for you. It's a great way too for young men, especially, to be formed, because they can be around the other men in the man cave. And fathers, this is the way to form your son as a young man. You can work. They could have their own login to the School of Manliness. You can meet with them once a week and go through some of the curriculum and have deep conversations. And the man cave also, it goes along with the School of Manliness. It's it's a non-Facebook community. It's our own community. And like today, I'm going to be having a Zoom meetup with the young men, and then we're all going to join together with the whole group an hour later. So once a month we have a Zoom meetup with the young men, and once a month with the whole group. So schoolofmanliness.com, come become a member of the Man Cave. Our guest today is Ben Steele, NFL tight end coach, strong Catholic family man. But I want to hear, compare notes of who between us has caught the greatest possible football catch. So I know you had an experience with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I was fortunate enough, and at the time I didn't realize it, but I played with Aaron Rodgers. His rookie year was my second year in Green Bay with the Packers, and so he was getting his feet moving and trying to move up the ranks, and being in the shadows of Brett Favre is obviously not an easy task. And then I was fortunate enough to catch his first touchdown pass in the preseason, which he asked me after. He said, "Hey, can I keep that ball?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's the preseason." But I didn't know he was going to be Aaron Rodgers. So I've asked him for the ball back before, and he's declined that offer. But man, I've never caught a 20-foot wave though, Bear. Like, that
Well,
is way harder. That
well,
is
you don't
way
catch it.
harder.
You got to really want. I don't think so at all. But actually, I know his brother Luke. He and I were on a reality show out here called Clean Break. It was a show that I kind of created, but Fox, did it. He's really cool, strong Christian. He has a tattoo on his rib "You shall have life and have it more abundantly." I think it's John 10:10. But now let's have the people listen and decide who caught the greatest football catch of all time, you or me? Because I have a football, actually, it's the one up here. I have a football that I caught from Uncle Rico.
Oh, that's you by far. That's the best. By
Wait, I
far,
mean,
he can throw a football over those mountains.
he could throw it over Diamond Head. But I caught a football from him. The whole gang was out here. The show was being aired, and we had it was kind of like an event. And because I wore "Vote for Pedro" T-shirt, I got to go up on stage, and I brought a football, which he has now
That is
autographed, and I kept it. So I think people need to decide who caught the
that.
greatest catch of all time between the two of
Yeah,
us.
I would definitely love to catch a uh, touchdown from Uncle Rico. That's for sure.
I hope people know who
That's
Napoleon Dynamite are listening.
that is awesome. That is awesome.
Well,
Uh,
tell us about your journey in faith, and how you grew in your faith in the Lord, and maybe as you go through your career, you can kind of mingle that in with your
yeah.
career experience, your football experience.
Well, and I guess I kind of hate starting out because everybody kind of starts out with like I grew up Catholic. Like I did. I grew up Catholic, and it was something that it was a community of my mom, my granny, all the people in a small town, Palisade, Colorado, that really instilled the values. And I didn't know exactly what those were, what those meant to me. And so there were times, and even in college, and it was my brother would be the one like, "Hey, I went to Fort Lewis College for a couple of years, and then my brother would be the one that would would say like, "Hey, we're going to mass. You got mass tonight. We're going." I'm like, "All right, all right." So like, it was, he helped me pull me there and get me there, and then,
Really, your brother,
um,
that's so cool. You had an older
yeah, and
brother like that.
yeah, and so, and really, that kind of resonates with me now too, when, getting called to do certain functions and speaking engagements, like in, being hesitant at first, but like someone brought me to, the Lord first. So like it's my obligation and duty, and and it's not something that was easy to really fathom. Like, who am I to be the one that? But and my wife actually gave me a good quote about, um, Jesus doesn't call the qualified; he qualifies the called. I'm still
Mhm.
getting qualified in that respect for sure,
I
but
understand.
so
Me too.
it's been a journey, and so yeah, so really I kept, you know through the faith, and there were definitely moments, early on when I was younger, that I was going through the motions, so to speak, and
Mm.
uh, but and I think that's part of it too. Like, sometimes, like, you just have to show up. Like, that's part of the success of anything, is just showing up. And like, I always, I joke with our kids, every Sunday, it's like, I don't want to go to, like, there's a negotiation. I'm like, when did we ever not go to mass on Sunday? Like, why, why every Sunday? And then they get in the car and we're there. And then we get to be with Jesus. And so it's been a journey, and it's been really a huge part of, my success, I can say,
Mm.
because when things were tough, like, I can't tell you how many times I've been cut from an NFL team, and, um, really turned back to my faith, as far as just letting go and letting God. And it was the community too, was also, my family and my Catholic community was also a big influence in that. And it's funny because every time, and I've joked about this before, but I would come home after I'd been cut, and I would stop by my granny's house, and she would be there praying the rosary when I'd walk in, and she'd go, "Well, when God closes a door, he opens a window." And I'm like, "Does he want me to jump out of the
Yeah.
window, or?"
What floor are we on here?
But obviously not. And man, it was really when that I just put all of it. I was like, if this is in your will, then I have no stress, and I have no, uh, worry to, what the outcome is going to be. Whatever it is his will. And so that, to me, was the tipping point of when I just went out there and played, and I just did the best, and used my abilities to the best of my ability, and was really the best version of myself, because I wasn't putting those blockers on myself, as far as, am I going to get cut? Am I not good enough? And so on and so forth. So, as a coach, like, that to me is something that I try to instill in our players. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, just let go and play.
Mm.
Um, and so it's, to me, and that's another reason why I got into coaching too, was, I've had a lot of good coaches, been around a lot of good coaches, but I've been around a lot of bad coaches too. And fear is something that a lot of football coaches use as a motivator, and I think that only motivates you far enough to not get yelled at, and doesn't motivate you to go above and beyond that. Um, and then I think the other thing that I think is a, something that people don't realize, is how much, faith is in sports, and in football specifically. And we have scheduled mass for coaches and players every night before the games, because obviously we play on Sundays, so we can't go to mass on Sundays. So Saturday nights we have mass, whether it's at home or on the road. So it's a big part of, of the sport too. And so, and my job, or what I've taken on as my job, is to make sure that the guys that go to mass, we'll be in Buffalo and everyone wants to go get the chicken wings. They got the best. And I'm like, all right, go get the chicken wings. But remember, mass is at 7. So get your butt back here for mass at 7. So, all right, coach, I'll be back at mass. So,
That's so cool.
um, so yeah, and I think that's a big part of the community that helped me um, grow in my faith as a Catholic, and the more that I've learned, the more that I realize I don't know, but the more that I've learned, the more I realize how important and how true the one true faith is.
Hmm.
And it just makes me want to dive deeper and deeper
Yeah,
into it.
we got to take a break. I know exactly what you mean. I remember coming up, look, at some point after I'd left the church for a while, or in some ways, I feel the church left me really because I was hungry. There just was no one there saying, "Here's the way." But I felt like I was swimming in the shallow end of the pool. And now I feel like I'm paddling out into the deep every time I open up, the catechism or the scripture. We're talking with my friend Ben Steele, tight end for the former NFL tight end and tight end coach for the Arizona Cardinals. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick adventure. Here is a YouTube video short, which is based on an excerpt from my newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness. Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Soft times make for soft men. Soft men make for hard times. Hard times make for hard men. Hard men make for soft times. I would say that we are at that stage where soft men are making for hard times. The sooner hard men step up, the better. I suggest that you pull your hat down and get ready for some bucking as this world gets more ornery than a bronc with a thorn under its saddle. Go to schoolofmanliness.com and subscribe to our weekly email to receive video YouTube links of the Bear Woznick radio show, as well as the Spirit of Adventure with Bear and Cindy TV show, which, by the way, is filmed in the tropics, as well as our manly evangelistic YouTube shorts. Go to schoolofmanliness.com. Here is a YouTube video short, which is based on an excerpt from my newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness. Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? You got to become a man. John Wayne said, "You're born a boy, but you got to become a man." When I was a boy, men around me lived up to these words. I wanted to live up to their cowboy code. It seemed the men, the fathers around me, all sought to do the same. I wanted to be tough like these men, to be fair like them, and I wanted to stand for something.
Be the kind of man that when he gets out of bed in the morning, the devil says, "Oh no, he's up." Go to deepadventure.com and invite Bear to speak.
Aloha, welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. We call it the Bear Woznick Adventure because I'm on an adventure, you're on an adventure. Anyone who's a Christian is on an adventure. My personal creed is that the most radical quest a man can pursue is to abandon himself to the wild adventure of God's will. And it is an adventure. There's no one more adventurous, if you look historically, than Catholics. The standing for truth, not wavering, not changing, not bending our belief to suit the times, but standing for truth. We have want to let you know my book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone, is still doing really well. It's been out for about 2 years now, and we'd really invite you to grab that book. You don't have to read it all the way through. Read 1 or 2 pages a day and let the thoughts in there sink in. 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? And we've got kind of a cowboy here now. We have Ben Steele. I mean, got to say, you guys, I never was a Cowboy fan. I was more of a Raider fan. But as far as his lifestyle and his toughness, we got NFL tight end coach for the Arizona Cardinals with us, Ben Steele. So how tell me about. I know your wife is such an incredible part of your journey with the Lord. Tell us about how you met and how your faith together grew. I'd be curious about that.
Yeah, so we met, we both went to the same college. We both went to Colorado Mesa, which when I went there, it was Mesa State University. Now it's Colorado Mesa University in Grand Junction, Colorado. And so she was an athlete, did cross country, track, basketball, and I played football. So I was actually uh, recently graduated and was playing, and she was finishing up her career, and so I would come back to Mesa and train. But when I met her, I was like, I gotta meet that girl. And our first date was actually at Mass, and which is actually a funny backstory is um, my mom actually saw her at Mass at one point and was like, we all went to the same church, and she was like, man, I wish my son would meet a girl like that. Goes, and then she's like, that's the girl that I saw. So I don't know if that's divine intervention or not, but it's pretty crazy story. But so yeah, so I was like, hey, I'm tomorrow. You want to go to Mass? We went to Mass together, and then we went hiking together, and then here we are. We got 5 kids, and we're doing it. And she's definitely the rock of the family, and definitely keeps us in check, keeps me and everybody else in check, and challenges me and our family to grow in our faith immensely, and which is so cool. And so it's just so awesome to be um, married to someone who has that vision and grew up as a strong Catholic individual. And so we got 5 kids, and it's a train wreck. And if they were here right now, there's no way that this show would be able to be on. But they're out in swimming lessons, or they're doing stuff around the town. So
That's great. Well, tell
yeah.
tell me about what lessons in your in the discipline to be a pro football player or just any athlete, but to play at that high of a level. How do you apply what you learn there to your walk with your being a disciple, your regiment as a Catholic, and what have you learned from being a Catholic that you can apply to your to being an athlete?
Um, Man, one of the quotes that comes to mind first and foremost is actually from a fellow Catholic, Dan Quinn, who's the head coach of the Washington Commanders. But um, he had a quote posted when I worked for him with the Atlanta Falcons in the players' locker room, which said, "How you do anything is how you do everything."
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with um, being good at sports, football, and your faith is so much discipline is required. And um, and like we talked about earlier, like part of that is just showing up. Like and as easy as that sounds, like it's not always easy. And when you don't want to do something, like just show up and just be there. And sometimes maybe it's you go to adoration and you just be there. And when you're there, the Holy Spirit will speak to you. And I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I don't want to just go sit and but it's a mystery that the discipline of being good at anything um, shows up in everything. So that's one of the biggest things, and how that I've learned, and how my faith has helped me be disciplined.
I think it's so cool. I know for me, it seems to me, not all the time, but sometimes, I mean, especially when I was training in martial arts and I would be having a long day and then I'm going to go to the dojo, and I just didn't have it in me. It just seemed like sometimes that's the day when you had the best workout. Like if you just show up, like I know when I was doing a long distance bicycle ride from San Diego to Jacksonville, Florida. And I remember the first not feeling like it after a while, but after the first five to maybe the first once I had pedaled for 2 or 3 miles, I felt I could pedal 100 miles. So it's kind of just showing up. And so in our prayer life, do you have a regimen as a Christian? Do you know what when you first thing in the morning, what do you do? For me, I open up my Hallow app and I listen to the exegesis of that day's gospel. That's how I kind of wake up. And then I have my liturgy of the hour, my office of readings. And I know at night I'm going to pray the rosary with my wife. Then there's other things during the day. But do you agree that we need to actually have this is when I pray, this is even where I sit when I pray, or this is where I walk when I pray. We need to have a regimen. And if you don't feel like it, just show up and do it anyway. If there's everything's pressing in on you, you're too busy, can't get to it today, that's the day you need to show up.
No question. And to me, like, and I've learned this over time that like, especially the days that you don't want to do it, like you just do it, like regardless. And um, man, the Hallow app has been really cool too for me too. Just as I'm on the road and we're traveling places, like I'm praying the rosary with Mark Wahlberg on the way to the
Yeah,
stadium.
isn't that cool? Isn't that cool?
So,
Yeah.
so I tend to pick the ones and that. So every game on the way to the stadium, I pray the rosary, and so sometimes if we stay close to the stadium, I'm like, all right, I got to pick whoever says it the fastest, so I can get it knocked out, and but yeah, and I've used this as a player when I was a player of just having gratitude in moments that you don't want to be there. And so like we would have to do wind sprints and they would say, we're doing 60 40-yard sprints or whatever. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
60 40-yard sprints.
and it was like, so we
Is that
would
the
do
whole team?
these,
The whole team?
well, the whole team is doing,
Oh
so
my
this, it was
God.
conditioning. It was conditioning and maybe it was 40 or 20, but um, regardless, it was, I remember specifically in Houston, I was with the Texans and we're running these sprints. It's hot and humid, and I would just be send gratitude and say a prayer. Like everyone, I'd be like, "I'm so grateful for this," and I would
Mm,
run this thing. I'm so grateful. So I'm not thinking about how tired I am. I'm not thinking about how uh, much my legs and how much my body is hurting. I'm thinking about I'm grateful for this, and I've run. I'm grateful for this, and I've run. I'm grateful for my mom and so on and so forth. Um, so I think that's another way to really dive into your faith as far as showing the gratitude for everything that you have, and when you do that, you see more like of rather than what, yeah, the bills are going to stack up, the
yeah.
whatever it is in your life, like yeah, the kids are, and we're not, but like how about, hey, I'm grateful that we have running water in the house. How about that? I'm
Yeah.
grateful.
How about that?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
huge.
grateful that, yeah, I'm grateful that we have electricity and and like it's the little things, and when you say it over and over and over, um you start to like you stand alone, you're like, all right, the problems, like the rabbit turd problems is what I call them, is like they are small. They are small in comparison to what the Lord has given us.
Mm. We're talking with Ben Steele, the tight end coach for the Arizona Cardinals. There's a scripture verse that says, "Enter into his courts with thanksgiving." You're not going to get in there grumbling and worrying. Worry is actually mental illness. Worry accomplishes nothing. But Thanksgiving changes everything. It just says, I'm going to, let go and let God. I love the saying, do your best, pray that it's blessed, and God will take care of the rest. And just have a heart of gratitude. And then the Lord can bless you. But if you're grumbling and complaining, what happened to the people in Moses' day, the ground opened up and swallowed the complainers. We'll be right back with Ben Steele. People love our EWTN TV show, Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick. Thanks to you, the show has won 4 different Tally Awards. And now, instead of waiting each week for the next episode to air, you can actually binge watch our show and even share it with your friends when you go to deepadventure.com and join the Mama Bears or the Man Cave. Along with all the other benefits, you get total access to all the seasons of our aired episodes, plus instant access to episodes that won't even air for several months. Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick, a great way to communicate the gospel in a gritty enough way that even tough men will stop and watch at deepadventure.com. Deep Adventure Ministries is grateful to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for underwriting the Bear Woznick adventure on EWTN. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union provides car loans, mortgages, SBA loans, and depository accounts nationwide, as well as 24-hour support. Go to deepadventure.com to find their link, or go to NotreDameFCU.com. Mahalo to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for making the Bear Woznick adventure possible. Announcing Spirit Adventure TV with Bear and Cindy. So many people, especially you mama bears, tell us we want more of Bear and Cindy together. Well, we're happy to announce our website, spiritofadventuretv.com, as well as our YouTube channel, Bear Woznick Spirit of Adventure, where you can watch Spirit of Adventure TV with Bear and Cindy. Join us where we live in the Hawaiian Islands or where we sail our boat, the Spirit of Adventure, in the Caribbean. Experience both adventure and serenity with us as we share our life together, as well as the joy and the wisdom of our faith. Go to spiritofadventuretv.com to find out more and subscribe on YouTube to Bear Woznick Spirit of Adventure. And join us, Spirit of Adventure with Bear and Cindy.
Are you still listening? I thought we warned you to change to an easy listening station. Well, you asked for it. Here is more of the Bear Woznick adventure.
Welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. We want to remind you guys, Long Ride Home, our TV show, our 33 episodes of our motorcycle TV show is available to you on Prime Video. So it's a sneaky way when your brother-in-law's over to turn on Long Ride Home. And by the way, the last season, season 4, is all filmed here in Hawaii, and it's a really cool season. But we have a lot of guys. One of the guys that I really love, Trace Chamberlain, he's a tough biker dude. He came to the Lord. He came to the Catholic Church because he walked into a living room. I think he was scanning channels, and he sees this motorcycle show. So Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick. It's on EWTN. Every now and then they re-air our series, but you can watch it on Prime Video. We're with Ben Steele. Hey, Ben, we're going to come watch a football game with you. We're going to come to Arizona.
I love it. I'm fired up. I can't wait to have you guys out.
Yeah, my wife's going to come. Maybe one of my son, maybe my son Jeremiah will come too. We're gonna be in Carmel, California, and we're just gonna drive out to Phoenix and hopefully we'll get to see you when we come. Will you have any time to say hi?
For sure. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. It is a grind once like right now I'm in the summer and we have like a break, and then there's always like a knot in my stomach once like the season starts, because I know that like I'm not going to see my family very much because we're 7 days a week, but I will definitely find time. And
even it's just to say hi. And we want to meet your wife. We know if we can, because I know you talk about her all the time. Tell me, it takes the grind when football season starts. You guys are smart, man. I mean, the knowledge you have to have, the nuance of football, that like the position you start off as a tight end, or how you're doing your blocks, and the 100 million different plays. Um, it seems to me like in fighting in martial arts, you can get so concerned about the technique that you lose your fluidity. You lose your natural flow. And I think in football, is it the same way? You have to practice it so much that it just becomes natural, or
Yeah, yeah, that is definitely true. Um and they people talk about muscle memory and all that, but
Mm,
but there's there's so much as far as like the details of every little thing. And one of the things that I talk about is like, do you know what to do, or do you know what to do?
mm.
And and the difference in that is, if I get lined up wrong and someone else is in the wrong spot, am I confused? But if you know that you know what to do, we can eliminate. I tell the tight ends jokingly, I'm like, every time you guys think, we lose 5 yards. So don't think, don't think out there. Just go play. And Trey McBride is he's one of the best at doing that. Like, he just plays and plays fast and physical, and he does some amazing things. And his athletic ability is second to none. But yeah, so that is a huge part of playing football for sure, is having the technique and the details of it and working on it on a daily basis. And we talk about not getting bored with the small things. Um and that's easier said than done. And how I do that personally as a coach is, I start with, it's all about the relationship with the players. And as much as I am connected with them, knowing that they know that I care more about them as a person than what they do on the field, then I can coach them hard and push them. And I don't have to worry about breaking relationships when I do push them. Like, that wasn't good enough. And there'll be times that, like, guys will come off, and I'm like, that's not your best. That wasn't good enough. And they will respond, in a way that is positive, because they know that I care about them being the best version of themselves, rather than collecting a paycheck or whatever it may be. So it's the it's the most rewarding job that I could ever dream of, because I don't I don't work a day in my life. Like, I love going to work every day, and I can stay there all day. And obviously, I love my family, so I have to balance that a little bit as much as I can. And our staff and our head coach does a great job doing that for us.
Well, it's as a father too, it's the same thing. I know, like one of the words that I use, similar to what you're saying, just in everyday life, if I'm out golfing or surfing, or uh, I hear someone cuss, or someone acts up, or someone's being t tough on someone else, I say something similar to what you say. I'll just say, I know you're a better man than that. Like you said, that wasn't your best. And it lets them know I really do have a regard for who you are, but that's not who you are. I know you're a better man than that. That we can challenge. In Hawaii, we have the tradition of being uncles. Everybody here,
Mm.
if you, it's kind of weird because at the time came when people called me uncle, or they call my wife auntie. And you go, I'm not that old. And you go, well, I guess I am. They're calling me uncle. But the young people here really have a respect for their elders, and they call you uncle. Aloha uncle, aloha auntie. And but there's an uncling that goes on. There was a
Mm.
young man here that during the first world title of in tandem surfing, he was really, tandem surfing is where you lift a woman. And he was not happy with their performance and not happy with her, and he was letting her know it. And the other uncles, the older guys that were competing in a world title, came over and uncled him and said, you need to watch it. And then when he came to the beach, I sanctioned him for a year. You're not allowed to compete for a year because of the way you treated your partner. But a year later, I put my arm around him, brought him into the fold, brought him back into surfing. But we as men, I think beyond just our children, we need to uncle the younger men. We need to encourage them, but also call them to be better. We don't see that a lot. And I think we have that. And when you get older, you don't care what, it seems like as the older I get, the more my mouth moves more easily to talk to people, as far as uh things that they might find I don't know, embarrassing, but to call them on things, but not to put them down, but to encourage them and to lift them. What lessons do you learn as a coach as far as being a dad?
Man, there's so many, and I think a lot of it is empathy.
Mhm.
Um, when with my kids and with our players, like sometimes you show up and you have a bad day, and you're not, whether you didn't get enough sleep or you're not feeling the best or whatever. Um, and so being there for them, and like you were just saying, like I think that's one of the biggest things is, and it's not so much holding people accountable. I think it's more of challenging them. Um, and when you see how eager and ambitious they will be when you do challenge them to, and and I know it's probably not the same for every coach or team, but I have no problem uh, incorporating my faith into how I coach, and I talk about it as a team in our room, in the tight end room, and they know and so then they know that what I stand for and what I believe is attributed to how I act and how I uh, am a man as a father. And we've got a lot of guys in our room that are married and having kids, and some of them don't have, and I didn't have that father figure in my life. So
Mm.
and literally like football was my coaches and growing up were like the ones that showed me how to be what a man is. And
Yeah.
so I have no problem, um and so to me that's also a reason why I got into coaching was my ability and my duty to feel like I'm going to repay, um, for the gratitude of what the sport gave me as a young individual without a father figure in my life, um, to some of them that don't, and a lot of them don't. And so
Yeah.
so it's so yeah, so that to me is one of the biggest rewards, and just hearing about our tight end had a one of our tight ends from that had a baby last year, and like to see him grow and be a
Hmm.
dad and encourage them, and one of our other guys got engaged, and like, hey, it's so
Hmm.
awesome, so excited for you. So all those different areas that are outside of football are to me like way more important than wins and losses. And I get that this is a results oriented business, and
Hmm.
I've had to move my family a bunch of times because we didn't win games. But to me, I would rather be a good person for them to model as what is truly important in life. And I've also, at the same time, seen that I've had the best players because of that,
Hmm.
honestly, and they've produced. Because it's that carries a lot more weight when the players know that you care about them as a person rather than what they can or can't do on the football
Hmm.
field.
And then I went to Baylor, and our coach Dave Aranda, he says, people over player. person over player. Develop the person, and then the player. It's not like it's a 1 and 2 thing either. I think it's just that you got to develop that person if you want to see them reach their full potential. Just before we go, I'll say one more thing. What I do here when I walk around Waikiki, which is the happiest place in the world, you see a lot of young couples here with their children, especially when the military couples come into town. And I always make a point when I see a father with the children, I always say, "Oh, you have a beautiful family." And then I say to them, "I'm so proud of you." I look at the man and say, "I'm so proud of you." And it really affects some of them because a lot of them don't have that affirmation. Like you said, a lot didn't have a father in their life, and a lot of their friends aren't being bold enough to do what they're doing. So anyway, we got to run. We've overrun our time. I'm talking with Ben Steele, tight end coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Ben, thanks for joining. If people want to have you come speak, where do they find you?
Well, they can look me up on the Catholic Speakers organization.
CatholicSpeakers.com. Yeah.
Yep.
Great people. Yeah, I got to speak with Ben in Syracuse, and he really lit the men up. So anyway, we'll be seeing you in December at the football game.
That was the reason why I wanted to go to that one, because you were going to be there. So I was like, I want to go beat Bear. I've been a fan for a long time, man. And thank you so much for having me on.
We'll see you in We'll see you in 4 or 5 months. I'm probably by December 22nd, you guys will be on the hunt. It'll be getting back to that time of year.
I like it. I like it.
Until next week, may the breath of the Holy Spirit aloha you. Aloha.
Ah.
Thanks for listening to the Bear Woznick Adventure. Find more manly conversation at the Bear Woznick Deep Adventure YouTube channel. Subscribe and ring the bell.